Hey there, YouTubers. Thanks be to God, I managed to recover a bit of a sanity and a bit of more strength and rationality, which drives me to make this YouTube video. In fact, I like to make this I like to make this YouTube video so I could answer the some questions from one of my subscribers or audiences named alias Royal Priesthood, and he asked me some questions by commenting in one of my most recent YouTube videos. So, cut to the chase. Question number one: What right now is stopping you from returning to Australia? You said you got your passport back, so it would seem you can travel. Please correct me if I am wrong. Australia is reopening, including travel for international students. Okay, in response to this question, first of all, I must inform you that I once applied for asylum, for protection visa, subclass 866 back in Australia, just to I kind of misinterpreted my situation back then, and I submitted such application to the Department of Immigration and Border Protection. Nowadays they are called the Department of Home Affairs. In fact, it was completely my fault. I did not do any proper research beforehand, and then I just submitted such application in order for myself to have a prolonged stay, maybe a permanent stay or residence in Australia. So, though based on my current circumstance, I might have more more solid grounds to apply for a protection, to reapply for a protection or asylum in Australia, but so far at the moment it still seems quite far-fetched for a dude with no prior history of persecution, by the local regime. So that will no longer remain an option. And considering all my previous immigration history in Australia, especially the ground, based on the ground that I made some mistakes. I submitted a protection visa application and it got refused, which pretty much already disproves the fact that I will not be persecuted by the regime here. But yes, I am being persecuted by that woman and her minions. So that's why I told you I misinterpreted my situation. I said I kind of support some sort of cult and showed sympathy for them. That's what I wrote. That's pretty much what I wrote, for the justification and the statement of such an application for protection visa. So I suppose I made my point clear in response to question number one. So question number 2, what made you leave your college in Australia, and are you permanently kicked out from it? First of all, this is again pretty much my mistake, my fault. I did not choose a degree which I could complete with little difficulty and without too much hassle, and it still costs quite a deal to study, to attempt the degree of Bachelor of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering at the University of Sydney, and the tuition fee keeps increasing, keeps skyrocketing over the years as time elapses. So that inflicted a huge damage and burden onto my old man, and that made him worked so hard to support me while I was in Australia, and yes, I also did some part-time jobs like flyer flyer distribution, housekeeping, and etc. While I was still a student at the University of Sydney, and that's excuse me. So doing just merely created more problems than it can solve. So I didn't primarily focus on my studies, on completing the degree as scheduled, and then my student visa expired, and the bridging visa A came into effect, in association with the application for protection visa. And yes, I also developed a series of mental health issues like depression, suicidal thoughts, and in turn it also exacerbated my stuttering, social anxiety back in the days, which rendered me pretty much unable to work in groups, to engage in group assignments and pair assignments at at college, in university. Are you permanently kicked out from it? Not exactly permanently kicked out. It is something, they call it exclusion from the degree, not suspension. Though it kind of has some similar meanings to getting suspended from your degree, and that isn't permanent, but it is kind of like permanent, since I currently don't have the sufficient funds, nor do I possess any sort of financial means to pay the tuition fee to return to the University of Sydney Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering by any means so far. So it is kind of, though they didn't say it's permanently excluded, still in combination with my current mental health issues and circumstance of homelessness, it is pretty much a permanent exclusion nevertheless. So question number 3, if you were kicked out of college and it's not permanent or can be repealed, how long would it take you to stay with your grandma or your grandpa until you could save enough to purchase a plane ticket and enough money to pay for somewhere to stay until you could get back into college? You are paying for a hotel and I don't know if it's a weekly payment or another type of arrangement, but you could be using that money to save to purchase a plane ticket and other necessities like a room and board until you can get back in the dorm, or if you can go back. Again, like I mentioned before, I still kind of bear some hope that I might be able to return to Australia one day. Maybe not through a student visa, maybe not through any other type of visa, but maybe working holiday visa or something similar. But in order to to return to the degree at the University of Sydney I left unfinished, I have to make some applications. I have to apply to get readmitted to my unfinished degree in chemical and biomolecular engineering, and I have to present evidence to demonstrate that I managed to overcome the issues I had back then. So so far as you can see, my mental health issues have merely worsened, or just it tends to follow a pattern of goes back and forth, ups and downs or oscillations. But I am currently in no shape, in utterly no shape of getting myself readmitted back to chemical engineering, Bachelor of Chemical and Biomolecular Engineering at the University of Sydney. I'm currently in no shape of so doing. And so I suppose this should suffice to answer question number 3. Question number 4: if it is permanent, would this disqualify you from applying at another school? Well, it certainly again, this one also depends on the schools, the educational institution I choose to apply to. Certainly, a record of getting myself kicked out from my degree, does seem quite adverse. It's the one in charge, the people in charge of whether to admit me or otherwise, they will certainly run through my previous records with or experiences with studying at the University of Sydney and at any other institutions. So it's it's not exactly a disqualification. It's not exactly being disqualified from from making further applications to study at another institution or a college or a school, but it just makes it highly unlikely for me to get admitted into similar degrees like mechatronic engineering, anything that has anything to do with engineering. Even if I do manage to go back to the realm of, or to the field of engineering, I imagine I would still get marginalized by the mainstream, by the mainstream social groups, or the mainstream classmates, so that's not something I am particularly proud of, and yes, it's always more disgrace than honor to get yourself kicked out from your degree from the uni. Yeah. Anyway, I suppose I have tried my best to answer these questions from royal priesthood. So priest, thank you for your comments and prolonged period of support and kindness, posting comments and replies almost whenever I made another video, and almost whenever I make a new video and uploaded them to YouTube. So you have certainly made a difference, though I am not sure if the difference you have been making would suffice to save me from this state of misery and mess. Nevertheless, in any event, I thank you again for your companionship online and comments and replies and support. So thank you again for watching and listening. Let's hope tomorrow can be slightly less painful or less hostile to me. Thank you, and God bless. Cheers.